Hi everybody, it's Kate here. I wanted to talk to you today about disruption and how disruption created significant change in my life, and how I think we sometimes need something incredibly painful or big or some significant change in our lives to help us see how we need to make that change in our own life. And what happened in my case was that over a period of about 10, 15 years, my stress levels had been very, very high for a long period of time, and dealing with a whole range of different issues, work-related, family-related, you name it, life. And one of the things that I did to manage that was that I used to drink a lot. There's a history of really good drinking in my family. We are excellent at drinking. And so what would happen is I would come home at the end of every day. Actually, I was working from home, so when I say I came home, that's a bit of a misnomer. But anyway, I would, at the end of every working day, which would be a difficult working day, my husband and I would have happy hour, and we'd sit down and we'd have a glass of red wine and a beer and some nuts, and we'd debrief the day. We both work in difficult industries, so we justified this. Life was hard. That's how we rock and rolled. And then before you know it, you'd had another glass of wine, and then you have a glass of wine with dinner, and then you might take one to the office to do a bit more work afterwards. And before you know it, you've had a bottle of red wine. So pretty much it got to the point where I was drinking a bottle of red wine pretty much every day. And sometimes on weekends I could drink more than that. And I justified this on a regular basis because my life was hard. I was very stressed. It was my reward. It was all of those things, which was a terrible way to go. And I got myself into a terribly unwell and unfit state. So by the time I got to the beginning of 2013, I was weighing more than 100 kilos, and I was incredibly unfit, and I had very high life-threatening blood pressure, morbidly high blood pressure. And it took ill health to trigger me into doing something different. And it actually took a doctor reading me the Riot Act for me to take some action. Prior to this doctor taking blood tests to have a look at my liver function test, which is something I'd always dreaded just in case it told me the truth, if a doctor asked me how much did I drink, I would have told them 2 glasses a day. And the reality was I was drinking significantly more than that. When I did have that liver function test, it suggested that I was actually drinking 5 bottles a day. Now, I wasn't drinking that much. That is truly an extraordinary effort, and I'm not sure many people could actually do that. But my liver function test was off the planet, and it turned out that drinking was harming me, but there were other issues going on. So the good news is that I don't drink at all anymore, and I'm not saying that because I'm a wowser. It's because I need to, because of health issues. But the good news is that as a result of that disruption of somebody telling me that I actually can't drink and reading me the Riot Act, I then changed my behaviours. So I turned it around, and instead of happy hour, we went for a walk. And suddenly walking became boring, and then I started running. Some call it shuffling, I call it running. And I began, because I was feeling fitter and healthier, I then ate better. And it was just this snowballing effect of actually looking after myself made me want to look after myself even more, which was really, really good. I deal with a lot of clients who seem very stuck. This is the way I've always done it. This is the way it's always been. And it's very difficult to get out of their head that it can look different, it can feel different. I want to encourage people to look for something that would disrupt their thinking so much that it actually triggers permanent change, or a way of looking at things completely differently. If we keep applying the same thinking and the same behaviours over and over again, of course we get the same results. I can tell you that back in the days when I was drinking, every night I'd go to bed and say, I'm not going to do that again tomorrow. every morning I'd wake up in the morning, I'm not going to drink tonight. And every night at 5 o'clock I'd have a glass of wine. I had to do something that would completely disrupt my behaviour. The level of shame I felt about having that glass of wine at 5 o'clock every night was just extraordinary. But the shame itself didn't stop me drinking. The shame didn't do that. It wasn't until the doctor said, we're going to do a liver function test, that I went, ugh, now the truth is going to be out. Now I cannot hide from this anymore. And when I couldn't hide from it, then I had to take action. It just forced my hand. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that that happened, because I now feel like a completely different person, because I do things differently. I approach things differently. I think about things differently. So what is the disruption that you need in your life? What is one activity that you could start doing immediately that would change everything? It would just change everything. What do you need to do that's completely opposite to what you're doing now, that, you know, that behaviour that's holding you back or that's destructive, that's preventing you from being your best self? What do you need to change up right now to look after yourself? That's all from me for now. But I wanted to share that story with you because I think a lot of us feel a lot of shame about our behaviour, and we do it because we know it makes us feel safe. But it's actually probably not very safe to stay in unhealthy living patterns. All right, take care. See you next time. Bye.